Hello everyone, I am in the fiery inferno, sometimes known as the state of Nevada. It is currently 113 degrees here. And I am at a place called Devil's Hole. I am in Death Valley National Park. This section of the park is a disconnected unit. It is officially and technically part of Death Valley National Park, which is mostly in California, although there are some connected parts of it in Nevada. This part isn't connected to the rest of the park. It's a non-contiguous section of the park, and the purpose of this particular site is to protect an extremely critically endangered fish. This fish is called the Devil's Hole pupfish. It's not a super remarkable fish when you look at it. It's kind of a bluish fish, but it is extremely rare. So rare, in fact, that it exists here and only here in this one single sinkhole with some water in it. This natural sinkhole is something like 400 feet deep. It's extremely deep, filled with water. It's so deep that it hasn't completely been explored or mapped. And this sinkhole here, again, is the only place in the world where this fish exists. And to make matters worse, basically its entire existence hinges upon a rocky shelf just a short distance under the surface of the water. It's about the size of a kitchen table, if I understand correctly. And that's basically where the fish spawns and where it forages. So that's where it reproduces and that's where it gets its food, and basically that's it. So it's a very precarious fish as far as its existence goes. Because this is such a sensitive area, it is gated and heavily monitored and surveilled. I remember hearing a handful of years ago that a guy drove here and was drunk and took off his pants and waded into the water here, which is super not allowed, and I think he was arrested and I think he was in jail or still is in jail. Some places you visit for what's there, for what you can see, and other places you visit for the story. And this is one of those places that you visit for the story. Not the story that you tell, but the story of the place itself. So I'm on the little viewing platform here. Let me show you the water that's down there. Let's see if I can get you a good view through the fence here. So here it is. This is the entire existence of this fish. This is that fish's universe. That shallow shelf just under the surface of the water there. The man-made things that you can see down there are to monitor the fish and to monitor the water to make sure everything is okay. I don't believe you can actually see the fish from up here. They're so small, but let me get out my other camera to zoom in a little bit more. There we go, that's a better view. Sorry for the probably worse audio that you're now hearing, but there's that table-sized shelf of rock that is critical to the survival of the Devil's Hole pupfish. The sign here says that the hole is actually 500 feet deep, not 400, and it's connected to a much larger underground water system, and it is sensitive to earthquakes around the world. And so, for example, you can go look online and see a video of the water in here sloshing around from an earthquake in Japan. An earthquake that caused a big tsunami. Really interesting stuff. I'll put a link to that video in the description if you want to go watch that. Here's what the fish looks like. Pretty blue fish. Here's the actual size. So here's my finger, and that is the size of the Devil's Hole pupfish. 1.38 inches or 35 millimeters. You can pause and read this all about them if you want, but the highlights are that they've been isolated in this sinkhole for 10 to 20,000 years, and they have adapted to life in the warm water here. It's 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and the population fluctuates between 100 and 500 individuals. Thousands of years ago, there were many more rivers and lakes in this area, but as they dried up, the little holes like this became disconnected from the larger bodies of water, and so these little isolated populations of fish resulted, and yeah, really interesting. Okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. It's 3 o'clock. I want to go find a campsite somewhere, but I don't want to spend hours at camp. It's gonna be too hot to just hang around at camp, especially since it'll be hard for me to find shade. If I could find some shade to camp in, that would be great. I'm going to be going into Death Valley National Park proper tomorrow, still in this same video. I'm not gonna record a whole lot more today. Most of this video will be of tomorrow's adventures, but I wanted to come here today to Devil's Hole because I had time and it would save me from having to go there in the morning. So tomorrow early in the morning while it's still not cool, but while it's still not quite so hot. I can spend that time in the lower elevations in Death Valley proper. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go into the main part of Death Valley today. It's gonna be hot no matter where I go right now, and I'd rather be hot doing interesting things than hot just sitting in my car in camp. And I have 5 hours of daylight left, so I'm gonna drive into the California portion of Death Valley National Park. I'm gonna try to stick to the higher elevation portions of the park, so maybe it'll be a cool 102 degrees instead of 113 degrees. And I think I have about, I don't know, I don't have service out here, probably about an hour and a half drive to get to where I want to go. Just under an hour later, I am at my destination, but before I get out, I wanted to show you the temperature. It's now 100 degrees, so it's a good thing I have my down jacket stashed up there. So I'm at a place called Dante's View, and it looks out over the valley below here onto the lowest point in North America. This is Badwater Basin. It's a couple hundred feet below sea level. I'll be going there, I think, tomorrow. But let's go out onto the little promontory over here for a little bit of a broader view. I love that this place is called Dante's View. It's a very evocative name of a spot where you can look out and observe the inferno below. So I'm at about 5,300 feet in elevation right now, meaning that the valley behind me there is over a mile below me. And the valley out here that you can see, the valley that includes Badwater Basin, is called Death Valley. That's the valley that gives this national park its name. It's a very, 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 very inhospitable place. And now I'm going to go for a little hike, believe it or not. I'm going to hike up to the top of this thing. The parking lot is just right here. It's less than half a mile up to the top of the peak here, so I'm going to do that as long as I'm in the area. I think the view will be pretty similar to this view here, but it'll be nice to bag a summit as long as I'm up here. I think that these mountain ranges in the Mojave Desert here in California and also in Nevada and Arizona are just spectacularly rugged and naked. I mean, you can see every little nook and cranny of these mountains. And I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning of this video, but this is a 2-week trip through Nevada and California, and I think it'll end up being about 6 videos for SUV RVing. From up here you can see the trail, the obvious trail that goes up to the mountaintop here. For the most part, I really don't mind the heat too much, especially now when there's a little bit of a breeze. It actually feels pretty nice. This hat thing, by the way, this neck sun shade thing, whenever I wear it, people ask me where I got it, and I wish I could give you a good link for it, but I bought it off of eBay several years ago, and it was from Korea. So I don't have a link for you, but if you search for, I don't know, hat, neck, sunshade on Amazon, then similar kind of things will come up. They're all things that you can attach to any kind of baseball cap style hat, and it'll protect your neck and your face a little bit from the sun. I think this little lump in front of me here is the summit. Didn't take long to get here at all. Yeah, it took me 13 minutes to get up here to the top. Here's a benchmark survey marker on top showing that it's the summit. The view is pretty similar from the parking lot, except worse in some ways and better in some ways. So Death Valley, which is out here, is kind of obscured by this bump. You can see here the entirety of the route. This is the first little hump that's just by the parking lot. And the views of these mountains over here is better than at the parking lot. Like you couldn't see any of this from the parking lot. Couldn't see these mountains from the parking lot. I don't necessarily recommend or condone you visiting Death Valley in summer or any time of the year when it's obscenely hot like this. I have a fairly high tolerance for heat. Some people just wilt in anything over 90 degrees. My wife Cassie is like that. She does not do well in the heat, but I kind of like it. It's certainly not ideal for everything and for all situations. I wouldn't do a 20 or 30 mile hike during the day in these temperatures, but for me and for the short things that I have planned, I think it can be a good time to visit. There aren't many people here. It's a Sunday afternoon, which would be prime time in a national park, but I mean, there's barely anyone here. And again, for good reason. These are dangerous temperatures. You want to make sure you're fully prepared and everything to come out here and have a ton of water on you and everything. But assuming your car survives the trip and assuming that your body survives the trip, it can be a good time to come here. Check this out. My car is the only one in the parking lot out there. And I forgot to mention that from the parking lot here, and from the hike, but from the parking lot too, you can see Telescope Peak across, if this will focus. Maybe the heat is getting to my camera here. But anyway, the highest point, this is Telescope Peak. That is the highest point in Death Valley National Park. It's a little bit over 11,000 feet, which again means that it rises over 11,000 feet above this valley here. So that's 11,000 feet. To put that 11,000 foot difference into perspective, I think that's about the distance between Everest Base Camp and the summit of Mount Everest. Before I get out and explore the next destination here, let's check in with the temperature. It is 116 degrees Fahrenheit. So up this little paved section of, well, road here that you're not allowed to drive up is one of the most famous places in the national park. Definitely the most famous viewpoint, I would say. And I think it's probably the single most photographed place in the national park also. I just looked it up on Google Maps when I was up at Dante View. I had a little bit of cell phone service up there. And this place had like 4,000 reviews on Google Maps. So it is not an out of the way place. It is a very popular spot, but again, right now, there's one other car in the parking lot apart from mine. This is Zabriskie Point, and it's a spot where you can see some beautiful Badlands formations. Very dramatic, beautiful landscape. And it is very hot here. It feels significantly hotter than it did up at Dante's View. Let's go over to this side. There's like a big cul-de-sac up here at the top. The viewpoint is all paved. Kind of odd. But again, more Badlands over here. The tripod that I use kind of as a selfie stick here is getting uncomfortably hot to the touch to hold, and the camera itself, as I've been handling it here in just the 5 minutes that I've been outside of the car, is getting hot to the point where I'm a little bit nervous about the camera's integrity going forward here in this kind of heat. So let's get back to the car and get back to the air conditioning and try to salvage the camera here before it dies of heat stroke. So the plan today was to just dip into the national park a little bit and then leave the park again and go find a campsite, but I still have daylight left. I'm gonna keep doing stuff until it gets a little bit darker, a little bit cooler in the day. Then I'll go try to find a campsite. But I wanted to stop here because of this sign here, elevation sea level. I'm on my way to Badwater Basin. I am gonna see that today. I decided it's off this way. Sea level, and again, as a reminder, these mountains are 11,000 feet tall. So 11,000 feet, sea level. 11,000 feet, sea level. It's quite the difference. I have now arrived at the infamous Badwater Basin, the lowest, hottest place in America. And I think one of the hottest places in the world. Occasionally it is the hottest place in the world. Let me turn down my, that's better. Turn down my air conditioning so you can hear me. Temperature check, 122 degrees Fahrenheit. That is an insane temperature. Let's go outside. Once again, I'm the only car here, probably speaking to the better judgment of my fellow travelers. It's windy, and it is hot. Hot, hot, hot. That wind is the hottest wind I've ever felt. Okay, let's go down the steps here. I don't know if I've ever been stung in the face by a hot wind before, but that's what I'm experiencing here. Welcome to 282 feet below sea level, or 85.5 meters. One of my favorite things about coming here, so this is my second time here. The first time I came here, I remember standing here, looking up to the mountain and seeing that little sign. I don't know if you can read that, but it says sea level. That is just insane. One of the, I'll say, two defining features of this place, of Badwater Basin, is this pool here. This beautiful little pool of water. This is, however, salt water. This is all salt around here. And this place got its name when an early surveyor to the area tried to get his mule to drink the water, but it wouldn't. So he wrote on the map, "Bad water," and the name has stuck ever since. And then the other distinguishing feature of this area is that this is all salt. This is a salt flat. What a miserable place. But beautiful at the same time, as long as you're not trying to cross it with a team of horses or something. I know it's kind of obvious, but the heat is just, I mean, it's remarkable. I've never felt heat like this before. It's incredible heat. This is an amazing place. What an insane place. The expansiveness of it is incredible. I mean, it is just hostile in a way that I'm not familiar with. I don't know if I've ever been in a more hostile place, a more place that is anti-human than this place right here. It is absolutely amazing. I found a great campsite here for the night. I drove east out of the national park to a road that I had noticed as I was driving into the park. I took note of it and thought, you know, I bet there's some campsites up that road. Sure enough, there are. The road itself was kind of rough, actually quite rough, quite rocky. It was one of those roads where as you're driving up it, you're kind of grimacing a little bit and just praying that your tires hold together. I passed a couple of campsites lower down, but I wanted to keep driving because I wanted two things in a campsite. With this heat, I wanted a campsite that was kind of on top of a hill or on top of a mountain or on the side of a hill or a mountain where there would be a lot of airflow, a lot of wind, because again, in this heat, I wanted some air circulation. And then I also wanted to get higher up in elevation. And so I found both of those things with this campsite. As you can probably tell, it's windy here, which is great. And I'm at about 3,300 feet in elevation, which is 3,600 feet higher than Badwater Basin, where I was less than an hour ago. Here's the campsite. Really pretty mountain views here. And I'm less than a mile from the national park boundary. These mountains are in the national park. There are no amenities here. Obviously, this is free dispersed camping out on BLM land. It's not much of a campsite itself. It's just kind of a pullout here. But that's all I need. When you camp in an SUV, you just need a place to park for the night. And so that's what I've found here with, again, just incredible mountain views. It was 103 degrees here when I turned off my car. I'm guessing the sun will set in about 15 minutes, so it'll keep getting cooler. Got a nice sunset view from inside the car. And here's the rest of the inside. The windows are open. I'm getting a really nice cross breeze in here. And then here's my dinner. Very not fancy. A couple slices of cheese, a couple slices of turkey, some pepperonis. This is basically an adult Lunchable. But I generally don't like to cook on my trips, and I certainly don't like to cook when it's 100 degrees outside. Let's check the temperature here. Yeah, it's still 98 degrees inside and outside the car, so cold cuts and cold cheese, that sounds pretty good to me right now. Well, the sun is now set. My belly is happy. The temperature is dropping. It's now 95 degrees. I'm still getting a nice breeze through the windows here. I'm gonna relax for the rest of the night. But this video is not over. I'm gonna meet back up with you guys again in the morning. We're gonna go back into Death Valley National Park. There's still more stuff I wanna do there, and presumably it'll be significantly cooler then than it was this afternoon. I don't know how it couldn't be, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to a few hours of relaxing here tonight, so I'll see you guys again in the morning. Good morning, everyone. It's 5:49. As you can hear, it's still windy, which was nice. It stayed windy throughout the night, so I had a nice breeze on me all night long. It was great. The temperature got down to 76 degrees, which is a little bit on the warm side, but it was totally doable. I actually slept decently well, so crisis averted. The sun is right about to come up over the mountains over here. And I don't know if I showed you these mountains over here yesterday on the other side of camp, but these are really interesting mountains over here. Look how multicolored they are. I don't know if I noticed them yesterday, but they're pretty hard to miss this morning. Oh, and here's one funny thing that I want to show you guys. So this is my national park pass. This is the America the Beautiful Pass, also known as the National Park Pass. Do you see how warped and bent it is? Both the card and the little hang tag are bent. And that happened yesterday in the heat. Because you hang this from the rear view mirror, and so while it was hanging there in the sun and in the heat, extreme heat, it got a bit melty and bent. I thought that was kind of funny. Before we get out of here, let's take one last look around and let me show you the campsite itself. I don't think I really showed it to you much last night, but I mean, there's not really much to show you. This is it. Such a cool spot, such an interesting place, just so desolate. Time now to head back into Death Valley National Park. I'm at the first trailhead of the day. It is currently 7:17 a.m. and 97 degrees. So this hike is to a natural bridge. This is the Natural Bridge Trail, going to this beautiful arch here. It's about a mile long hike to the natural bridge from here. Or it looks like actually 0.3 miles. That's even shorter than I thought it was. Then you can go farther up the canyon if you want to a dry fall. I won't be doing that. I think I'm going just to the natural bridge. This place is giving me serious Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade vibes. Oh wow, and I feel like almost before the hike has even started, we are at the natural bridge. So this arch is actually bigger than I thought it would be. I thought it would be maybe like, I don't know, 10 feet high, but it's a good 25 feet high. That opening. From the back it looks like an eagle, doesn't it? Can you see that? Like, that's its eye and the beak right here. I enjoy finding arches in places where you wouldn't normally think there would be an arch. Obviously if you go to Arches National Park, yeah, you're gonna see some arches. But Death Valley, it's not the first national park you think of when you think of arches. That was a great little hike. It took maybe 10 minutes to hike to the arch. The hike itself is fun. It goes through some really interesting scenery, the winding little canyon, and the arch itself is really neat, so highly recommended. It's a great hike for anyone. I think kids would enjoy that hike quite a bit. Again, assuming it's not 100 trillion degrees. But I think this is the last thing I'm going to be doing here in Death Valley. I'm almost back at the car. We'll take one last look at Death Valley itself. And once again, I'm the only car in the parking lot. I'm gonna leave the national park. There's a lot here to do. I forgot how much I like this national park. This might be one of my top handful of favorite national parks. It's been a few years since I've been here and there's just so much to do, and obviously I didn't see or do everything on this trip. I saw just a small portion. Again, I'll put links in the video description to a couple of videos from my previous visit to the park. I think I've been here 3 or 4 times total, but I've only filmed one of those trips. I'm gonna drive about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I'm not exactly sure, deeper into California here, toward the Sierra Nevada mountains. There's a spot over there that, again, I've been to before, but I've never filmed and I've never shown you guys. It's a very popular, well-known spot, especially in the overlanding community. So it'll be fun to show it to you. A couple hours later, a lot of you probably recognize this place. It is a famous location. I'm in the Alabama hills right now. Just this collection of hills and small mountains covered in boulders. Really neat area. And then over here we have the Sierra Nevada mountain range. More specifically, right there in the middle is Mount Whitney. That is the highest point in the lower 48 states. The highest point in California also, of course. I've climbed it twice via 2 different routes. I've rock climbed up this side, and then I've done the more traditional trail up it. And I'm here just to enjoy some nice scenery as I have lunch of berries and some cheese and crackers. There's one thing I want to go see here in the Alabama hills, and then I'm going to end the video. I think I'm going to go fishing after that, so I'm going to go have a kind of a relaxing afternoon here. But check this out. This is a firefighting helicopter. There's a fire directly below Mount Whitney over here. I think you can probably see the smoke, and then you might be able to see the orange of the flames. I can see them in person. I don't know if it'll come through in the video. As I've been standing here, I've seen and heard several different helicopters. Like this one is now flying back with a bundle of water to go drop on those flames. Well, after zooming in with the camera and looking at it with my binoculars, that orange part is clearly not flame. I'm not sure what that is. It might be some sort of fire retardant. The helicopters have dropped that orange stuff. I don't know. Someone let me know if that's what that is. That's my best guess. I've driven up the road a little bit to a much prettier area with fewer power lines and some more interesting rocks. But I'm guessing you've seen the Alabama Hills in overlanding videos, or especially overlanding advertisements. Overlanding companies love to take pictures of people using their gear here in the Alabama Hills. I don't know why this is such a hot spot for that. I think they'd like to pretend that this is some like remote, off the beaten path location, but like a passenger car can just drive out here. It's not a hardcore place to get to at all. But the great thing about this place is that there are just a ton of free dispersed campsites among the boulders and rock formations here. Let me show you this one little spot that I found. Found this cool little campsite here, nestled between piles of rocks. And you can, of course, see Mount Whitney from here also. And then over here to the right, in the other direction, there's some really impressive, pointy rock formations and spires. This is reminiscent of Joshua Tree, but this isn't a national park. This is just BLM land. And so you can camp out here and stuff. But I have actually not been to the single most famous place in the Alabama Hills, and that is a little arch, a little natural arch. So that's what we're gonna go see now. Well, I'm learning that people do not want to be out doing things in extreme temperatures. So I'm not gonna have too much company on this hike. This is called the Arch Loop Trail. Goes to a very famous arch, like I said, that's over this way. It's actually not that hot right now. It's 93 degrees. Feels downright pleasant compared to Badwater Basin yesterday. That was something else. Whoa. I'll tell you, I've never felt anything like that before. Just hot, hot wind stinging my face. That was wild. There are apparently a few hundred small natural arches here in the Alabama Hills. This isn't the one I've come to see, but I just passed by it on the trail. There's another, I don't know if this is considered an arch, but this opening under the boulders right next to it. It's small. I mean, this is, well, let me go stand next to it and I'll show you. Not very big. Still neat though. So here is the arch. It's called Mobius Arch. Much bigger than that last one. Still not a huge arch as far as natural arches go. But this arch is famous because you can see Mount Whitney through it. So you can frame Mount Whitney in this beautiful little natural arch here. And wow, I showed up at the right time. A whole convoy of RVs and other vehicles just showed up. There are a ton of arches in that area, and again, all around the Alabama Hills here. In fact, there's an entire book dedicated to them. Great little book. Well, I mean, it's kind of a strangely large book, but great thin book with just a bunch of different arches in here. I had planned on seeing a bunch, but I do not have the inclination to do so right now. I want to go higher up in the mountains and go fishing. So more of that arch exploring will have to wait for another time and another adventure, but it is a great little book if you want to pick that up for yourself. I'll put a link to it in the video description. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite part was. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what your experiences have been like in Death Valley National Park. What have you seen and done there? Thanks again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to check out Adventure Know-How, my new site, where you can gain access to a map of all of my free campsites, plus monthly bonus videos that you won't find anywhere else. Learn more at adventureknowhow.com. And for links to everything else SUV RVing related, visit suvrving.com. Links to these sites and more will be in the video description.